If you don't know, you better ask somebody. I got nervous when I said, man, what am I going to say to this young lady? But everybody, welcome to the Love Movement Podcast. Thank you all for all the support. Thank you for everything that you do for us. But we got a special guest today. And it's, man, I'm still kind of nervous. But let's pay the bills first. Our sponsors, the Blue Note, thank you, Club 717. And we got the Division Street Cafe in Melrose Park that sponsored us also. So I want to thank you. And Gen Care that helps the Maywood Park District, and they have their senior citizens health advisory, and it's a good thing. So it's a lot going on out there, but ladies and gentlemen, this young lady, I remember when she was a trustee as I was a police officer, and she was under the tutelage of Gene Moore, and we just gave him a street. They donated a street to him the other day, and I've watched her grow into a special person, not just a woman, but a special spirit. She's taking care of this village, the 4th district. She supplied a whole lot of money and influenced a whole lot of programs, legislation. I mean, I got a winner. I got a diamond right here. We got a diamond. This is the Senator, Kimberly Lightford. The Senate Majority Leader. Come on now, that's heavy. That means her co-workers, her constituents, they believe in her, and I'm honored.
Thank you.
Hallelujah. I'm honored to have you here. And my two lovely co-hosts, what's going on out there?
Hey.
So we can start with Shygar. Shygar kicked off yesterday.
Okay.
The first event was at White House, White Smoke and Ash.
Yeah.
Sorry, Don. White Smoke and Ash.
I saw some of that.
And so today they're down at 31st Street Beach. So they have a weekend of events lined up, and they still have tickets available. So if anybody wants to partake, please go out and support them.
Be safe, no matter what happens. Just be safe down there.
Yeah. So that's kicking off this weekend.
Okay.
And then also the police car that ended up getting hit by the train.
Yeah, that lady. Well, they put the police officer. She's a female police officer. Mm-hmm. They put her on trial. She's on trial right now. And what she did is she arrested this young lady, and she put her in handcuffs. But she had parked her car on the tracks.
Yes.
And the lady was still handcuffed in the train, and the train came and hit her. And she's in critical condition. So let's pray for her and pray for the lady too, the police officer, because that's a tough call.
They actually said that her vehicle, the police officer's vehicle, was like a few feet away from where this occurred, but she put her in another officer's vehicle.
Right.
And then, you could clearly see that it was train tracks, but of course, I can't say what she thought, but I would assume she did intentionally intend for that to happen.
No, she
but
didn't.
There's always a risk.
Yeah, but it's tough. I mean, and I'm glad that the young lady's all right, because you don't walk away from a train getting hit.
Oh, you do not.
At
full speed.
It don't usually go. What you got, Lady Z?
I got a lot of stuff.
What's in the entertainment game?
So, since we're doing announcements, at the Blue Note tonight, we're celebrating Chicago's own George Daniels. They are filming a documentary, and today is going to be the last day of his documentary. It starts at 7:00. I believe it's going on until 12 a.m. They got a few celebrity guest appearances tonight, so you could possibly run into who knows who. We got Damon Williams scheduled, comedian Damon Williams, Crucial Conflict, and a few other George Daniels
Now, who's
friends.
doing this event?
Marie. Her name is Marie.
Okay.
She's with Red Carpet.
Okay.
Productions. A friend of mine's actually. So
Nice.
Okay, well that's good stuff. Anything else in it? I'm Jamie Foxx.
You was just Jamie Foxx got you in the chokehold.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we've been
A lot of
talking about
people
Jamie
in the
Foxx for
chokehold.
3 weeks.
Hey,
What
listen,
did he say? I missed it.
he's one of the greatest entertainers.
He is.
Yes.
I'm not
I
gonna
love
just say
him,
a
though.
comic. I'm not just gonna
Yeah.
say an actor.
Yes.
He's an entertainer.
world
and-
round.
and he has a lot of talent. I mean, he could do impressions. Tell me what you think about him doing Ray.
Oh, amazing. Outstanding.
I forgot who
dream
Wasn't
girl.
that the
Real
bomb?
Ray was.
Oh,
Exactly,
yeah.
because
He
he sure
made you
did
forget
that. He
about it.
did
But
that.
And he got a new movie out. They cloned
They
Tyrone.
cloned Tyrone.
Yeah.
Listen, I watched it the other day.
How was
It's a little
it?
rough.
Listen,
Is it?
it's
Yeah, a
about
lot of cussing and
it's
stuff.
about how we are guinea pigs
Mhm.
and how they treat us, and we are experiments, and they put stuff in our chicken because we like chicken.
Yes.
And it made us act a certain way. You got to watch it. I'm not going to
That sounds like a
expose,
conversation with my
yeah.
grandfather. He's been
But-
talking about that for
Yeah,
years.
it's
though.
whatever we like to do, that's what they
That's where the-
expose.
yeah,
And
that's
that's
where the
where they
challenges are.
got us at.
My grandfather
blood
say
pressure,
it's something in the
diabetes.
McDonald's.
It's something in the
Yeah, he
McDonald's.
say all the
Nuggets.
kids crazy. It's got to be
It's
McDonald's.
them nuggets, baby.
Yeah.
Not
And-
the Nuggets.
Yeah.
It's them nuggets.
Then we had the Blackhawks owner, Worth. He died.
Yeah.
One of the guys that he had 3 Stanley Cup championships under his belt, and he passed away. So, and what about Bronny? What's happening with Bronny? LeBron James' son.
Oh yeah, that was so
He,
tragic to hear.
Yeah, he had
Medical emergency.
yeah,
went to
medical
cardiac
emergency. He
arrest.
went to cardiac arrest, and that's when your heart stops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's happening with a lot of young athletes.
Yeah,
these
that's when
days,
your
too.
heart stops, and it's unfortunate, that it happened because it could end his career. To the kid Hamlin that played for the Buffalo Bills, he went into cardiac arrest, and they were able to save him as well. Well, it's kind of personal to me because I had heart surgery. I had a quadruple bypass, and my sister's birthday was Tuesday, and she would have been 60, and she had a leaky valve over her heart, and her heart exploded.
Oh wow.
And she passed away, so she didn't make it to 60. So I hope Bronny could be all right.
Yeah, I'm
You
hoping
know,
so
Me
too.
too.
So it's a tough. But Kim, the global
Yes,
warming, the
yes.
global warming.
What about it?
What is what's going on with the? They said in Florida it was 101 degrees in the ocean, and that's like sauna weather.
Yeah.
I know. I'm gonna say something that might not be popular, but do you remember when Al Gore ran for president?
He talked
He was
about it.
talking about global
Global
warming.
Yes, he was.
Now, since then, we had 8 years of Bush, 8 years Obama, 4 years Trump, and now we're almost done with Biden's term. And that whole conversation Gore was talking about is just now happening. We're starting to feel the effects of what he was trying to tell us
Right.
back in the day. It's not something that I'm too engaged with. I really like the heat. I mean, I like the summer. I'm from Chicago, but I could do without Chicago winters. I
Right.
could do without all the snow. But I think the challenges for African Americans in the Black community is really clean air, clean water. Those things are more our challenges because of the pollution in the air that we breathe in, and our children have asthma so badly, or the fact that the water is not clean and healthy that's coming from the sewage systems that we take in. So we have to buy bottled water when water used to be free. So now you still have a water bill that you pay in your home, but you can't drink the water.
Yes.
So I think for Black communities, we should be really concerned more about the quality of the air and the water that we're drinking.
Right, and then they even had the fires that were over in Canada, and the smoke came over here.
I smelled that too, and I saw it, and that was some powerful
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't
to
understand
make it
it.
from Canada. I didn't either.
I didn't understand.
I didn't
it.
either, CB, I didn't get a chance to say thank you so much. Your introduction was amazing. It almost made me feel like, who are you talking about?
Yeah, right. But this, I mean, listen,
I love your outfit. I love your outfit. I just want to say I love your outfit.
We
You
didn't get the
know,
memo.
man. All of these years, I know.
Well, I got this because
You have been a big supporter of me,
without a
CB,
doubt.
and I just want you to know that. And you mentioned as a trustee, you were a police officer, but you were a well-respected police
Bless you.
officer
Thank you.
that I looked up to in my whole class. Like when CB and his team came through the police department, we stayed away from the police.
Right.
You know, it's like we see them coming, we trying to cut class, hanging out. We went the opposite direction,
Right.
you know, because they didn't play. It's
Right.
like where y'all need to be, get where you're supposed to go. And so I think the work that you've done in the community
Well, bless
and
you.
the way you've raised your children, and how many people can kick out 2 children that make it to the NBA.
Mhm.
Bless
2,
you.
not 1, but
Bless you.
2. Your percentage is
G-O-D.
Yeah.
won't he do it?
Yes,
Won't he do it?
Yeah,
Won't
that's
he
what
do
their
it?
dream was. So, hey, I support your dream.
Amen. And
And-
that's what you are.
and
You're
that's what
a
it is.
great support. And I just want to say thank you first. I just
And
want you to know
God
that.
bless you.
I
Now,
appreciate you.
as we ride out and I'm looking at different things, they talking about the migrants are sitting outside
Mhm.
drinking and they having pistols on them and all of this kind of stuff. How does that affect the state? What is the state?
I've got a couple ways, if you
Okay.
guys don't mind,
Yes,
to
we
address this
we got
issue.
all day.
Because when I think about immigration, you know, I think about all immigration of all people, Haitians and Africans and Jamaicans, and the challenges that Black immigrants have getting to the United States,
Okay.
right? So I think about them too, not to discount the Latino and the Latin community, not to discount them, but I just don't understand it. Then why can't there be more openness and support for all immigrants and immigrants of color? So I've got that one issue. My second issue is that there's a whole lot of unemployed people already in America, look like me, that don't have jobs, don't have quality education, has a challenge with affordable housing, yet we can find millions of dollars to house people if they show up on our doorsteps.
And put them in the police station.
And lay them on the police station floor. Now,
that's
we
tough.
do know the Republican governors in these states bust these people here, and that was just a jab
Right.
at the Democrat Party, and they play in pure politics. But how we respond to that is the real issue.
That's
And
what-
so now I think there's room to be supportive, and I do support immigration and helping them out. But what I'm challenged with is people who already are homeless in the state of Illinois, and who lack employment, and who have these challenges with food deserts and things of that nature. If we can't get our own house in order, how is it that we can identify millions of dollars to bring other people over to our homes? So that's just the way I see it.
And that's
you
how,
know.
hey, look, if you got any questions for the senator, please call 708-223-8953. 708-223-8953.
What do you
Now-
think they're incented by, though? As far as, you know, to your point, like if there's opportunity here, what would be the incentive for them to go outside and, well, embrace immigration and assisting with that? What do you think the reasoning behind why they're choosing to be more supportive of immigration versus taking care of home, in other words?
Right. So we started out a few years ago with creating welcoming cities.
Okay.
We started out creating from the city of Chicago throughout, you know, many municipalities adopted their own ordinances declaring themselves a welcoming city. But what we didn't look forward to is this influx and bus loads of immigrants coming in, being shipped from Texas and Florida and all these other states just because their governor wants to play politics with Illinois being a premier Democrat state. You
Okay.
gotta we're a blue state, and
Right.
and that's what you'll get when the president elections roll around. You're gonna get a president selected by the state of Illinois. We sent them President Obama. We sent them the first Black woman U.S. Senator Carol Moseley Braun. And so we've done some things in Illinois that are unique to other states that they have not. So we have a jab on us when it comes to politics, right? But it's not right that people can just show up and get supports that those who have been here cannot, right? So I don't know the madness behind it, the ideology behind it. I know we're loving and giving and compassionate people. So we say, let's figure out how to help. But when you start robbing Peter to pay Paul to help a whole new situation, when you didn't rob Peter to pay Paul to help your current situation, then that's where I'm not clear that I'm in support of how things are moving.
Okay.
And it's so funny that the governor of the state of Texas put kind of barges or things in the water so the people wouldn't come over, but he was shipping them to Illinois and to different states, and he's making an attempt for them not to even get it in the state of Texas.
Wow.
And that's so crazy. So I
Well,
didn't
that
understand
just goes
that.
with Trump building the wall,
Okay.
CB. That just goes back to people, they funded Trump to build that wall. Governors like Texas, governors like Florida, they didn't get what they funded. So now they're going to take matters into their own hands, and they're going to keep these immigrants away, which is really strange because they like to use the immigrants to work for them in labor. But I think the influx of them came over from Trump and our poor relationships with other countries that drove the asylum to just grow so massively at one time, right? Because it hasn't happened before. Now, all of a sudden, thousands and thousands and thousands are showing up at one time, right?
And that's crazy, man. That's good stuff. Now, that migrant thing is one thing, but now we hitting another home run. They're trying to give Emmett Till the monument. Talk about
like
that.
that.
The state of Illinois.
Yes,
Talk about that.
yes. So I was so honored, CB. I spoke at Mamie Till's statue. You guys have got to go see her statue.
Where is it at?
It's over in Argo, their home community. It's in Argo, and it's in outside of the high school that she taught at, and that her son was once a student.
Okay.
And so you've got to see it. I was the keynote speaker for the revealing of that statue. So it's time out. It should have been happened. It's 2023. That Emmett Till changed the lives of African Americans when his mother said, "Leave that casket open so everybody could see what they did to my baby." That changed the mindset of a lot of our families, right, and our parents, right, because it was their generation. That was very powerful. But then nothing happened after that. So now it takes us generations later to say, you never honored that woman. You never honored that child. You never honored that major civil rights movement that happened as a result of that,
And
right?
I get it.
You never acknowledge that. So I'm grateful that it's finally come around, that they're getting their just due. Their family is. There's still quite a few members of the Emmett Till family that were at the unveiling of the statue at Argo High School when they did, and the things that they said about how they felt when it happened and where they were when it happened in their lives was so moving for me. So I'm just really grateful that they would have an opportunity, to some of them, to still live today, to know that they're being honored. Their sister is being honored. Their nephew is being honored.
And Joe, he signed it into, he signed the bill, but are they going to have a place in Illinois for this monument besides the one they got in Argo? Are they going to do one like downtown?
Well, I would think they
Chicago?
would do one at possibly President Obama Library. So don't forget that we are hosting President Obama's library, and they're already in those developmental stages, deep into the stages of developing the presidential library over off of the Hyde Park area. It's like right next to the DuSable Museum, which is also nice, because then more people who want to visit the President Obama library should be driven to go to the DuSable Museum so they can learn more about African American culture and
That's good
history.
stuff. Now, Kim, you have initiated and passed a lot of bills
I have,
in
CB.
the state of Illinois.
I have, CB.
I mean, the Senate Majority Leader. Y'all don't understand. I'm in the company of a diamond. This young lady is. She's been there, and she's done that. And you've passed a lot of bills, and I've been noticing on TV where they have different states like Texas and Tennessee and Florida, and they're trying to ban books and they're trying to not teach certain classes and implement certain structure. How does that work for the state of Illinois? Because you have about 10, 12 bills that you already have passed for education, and they're going well too.
In this space, actually. And one thing I want all your listeners to know is that's not going to happen here in the state of Illinois.
Okay.
There's absolutely no way.
That's right.
And you can hold me accountable on this one in a lot of ways. There's absolutely no way in the heck. Well, in my watch, I allow our Black history to be stripped from school books. In fact, I'm doing the reverse. I'm ensuring that it's included in the history books. And so I did pass legislation 2 years ago that I had done already. So let me tell you about racism in Illinois. It's real thick, and it's embedded in our policies and our government and in everything that we do.
Systematic.
And they will not implement even laws that we pass. So we passed laws over the years. Since 1997 was the first law that Bill Shaw passed as a senator. That man been dead and gone, to put African American studies, well, they called it Black history back then, in the books. It was passed, never implemented. Then fast forward, me and Monique Davis did it in like early 2002, 2003. We passed a lot of it. Never was implemented. So the governor and all of the administrations, they get what the new law says, and they have a responsibility to carry it out. But we were under Republican leadership, which with Jim Edgar when I first got there.
Okay.
Then we had George Ryan. And then while Blagojevich was there, and after him, Quinn, and I don't understand what those governors and their administrations was doing.
But you had 8, 7 governors.
I'm on my, Pritzker is my 6th governor. CV.
Golly, she lasted. She got power. Y'all,
Stay in power.
y'all just don't know, man. I'm talking to a hero.
Okay, I do. I've got 6 governors,
Yeah.
CV. Pritzker's my best in on principles and on issues that impact the Black community. He has been the absolute hands down best governor in those regards.
Yeah, I've seen him at a lot of events. The 100 Black Men of Chicago events. He's always showing up, being there, and making himself presence.
Exactly. So I've passed legislation to uplift diversity and to uplift the classroom and the teachings of all races, because we're more whole when we know about each other, not that this one-sided J view that we all got growing up. Because I said this on the Senate floor, and I'll share it with you here. I was so tired of every Black History Year program was about Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and the bus.
Right.
There was nothing else taught to us in the school system about who we were and where we come from. And I didn't learn about Black history until I went to college, CB, and I took my first African American Studies course in 1986. I was so into it that it became my minor accidentally, because I took courses. I had about 7 or 8 classes in African American Studies, because then that's when I learned about Dr. Maya Angelou and Nikki Giovanni. I mean, you hear songs about them growing up, right? But you didn't know about their contributions to society.
Right.
I learned to write poetry as a result of learning about Black artists and writers. And then, only thing we knew is what we saw on TV. And if you wasn't a musical, and if you wasn't on sports, then Black folks had no contributions.
Yes.
And I learned that we created everything. And I mean everything.
What?
I mean everything.
And they even got it down saying that because we were slaves, that helped us to develop.
Yes.
That's what the word is
I
out
heard
there
that.
now.
I was like, that is like
Yeah,
blasphemy. That's
I mean, they learn how to. We learn how to get away from y'all. That's what we trying to do.
Exactly.
Get away from y'all.
So,
But
Kimberly, how does
yes.
a bill get passed, or Senator Lightford, how does the bill get passed but not implemented? What is the stumbling block in between that? Is it just a matter of someone not executing and not being held accountable for executing, or how does that work?
So you call me Kimberly, and you know that's okay, because you was a little bitty
I
something.
know,
Like,
I know.
She
we
heard
the-
up and
you
corrected,
the
though.
baby. No. I'm like, you call me Kimberly, okay?
I was about to hit her with the.
Yeah, you should call me Kimberly.
she knows,
She the
she
baby.
knows.
She the baby, course. So we've been around
A
each
long
other
time,
a very
I know.
long time. I love your family and you. So honestly, so a bill becomes a law from an idea, a thought, a change that need to be made, and you draft that into a legislative format, and then it goes through the process of passing through both chambers. If it passed the Senate and make it over to the House, and then it passed the House, it goes to the governor for signage. If the governor signs it into law, it's actually the law. But who implements the law is the next step. And that's something that a lot of us don't think about. Once, as legislators, we pass that bill, hey, I did my job, I passed this bill. But I've learned through leadership is you got to follow through.
Yeah.
You've got to go back and call that director at that agency. Hey, Public Act such and such was signed into law. It has an effective date of January 1. I need to know when it's being implemented. What's the process? What does the department have to do on their end? A lot of laws that are created, they have to go through either an administrative rule process. They have to go through another component once it becomes law, because either the budget got to now support it, so money have to be attached to it, or positions have to be attached to it, or ordinances that goes out. If it's an education piece, notification has to go to the school, 881 school districts across the state saying this is your new act. So they'll laws that are from this year, they'll get a booklet, and then they're supposed to follow all of that. But if you got a racist school district, they're like, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. And then there's no follow up. There's no follow up, and there's no follow through.
And you know what? To me, I just think like with Juneteenth and all of this,
That's
they
right.
throwing us a bone,
Mhm.
but we never knew about Juneteenth until recently.
Mhm.
And then the implementation for the state of Illinois,
Mhm.
you were right there
Yeah.
doing your thing. And I seen in Evanston that they're doing reparations.
Yes.
Where are we with that?
Wish us luck on reparations. We haven't. So in the Black Caucus pillars, we passed the Illinois legislative agenda. We passed the Illinois legislative Black Caucus agenda to rid Illinois of systemic racism a few years ago, and I led that whole thing up. We created 4 pillars, and our 4th and final pillar is economic development, access, and economic access, development, and opportunity. And in that, we put the reparations piece in
Okay.
that whole conversation piece, with us not being able to get banking and us not being able to get housing. And you can't get loans, you can't get grants, you don't qualify for this, you don't qualify, you make too much for this. I mean, it's all these rules and regulations to keep us suppressed, right? So when we started talking reparations, it was almost like a non-starter in that it was going to kill everything else, right? So you have to know what stuff you need to pull out, and you run it as a set aside, and you got to know what you can group and run it as an omnibus. So it didn't make it in our omnibus because that's a big budget item. So
Okay.
when you talk about reparations across the whole state, you're going to have to calculate every African American individual from the census count number, right, which will be millions of Black people. And then you want to calculate that times a number, and then say to the state, this is how much money that you have to give Black people, and here's when you have to give it to them by. And they looking like, we ain't got no money like that.
Right. So
We
so
we ain't giving y'all nothing.
so with Evanston, what role did the state have to play in?
We didn't.
Oh wow.
That was a city ordinance. Evanston, the city of Evanston made the decision to do that. So when you think about that, when you think about federal government, state government, and city, county, and local government levels, when you get to that point, they have the ability to write their own ordinances. They have their own budgets, and they could pay out whatever they want to. So we had like absolutely zero to do with Evanston and their
Wow.
reparations. What I hope is that many other communities follow suit, and that the state could get to a place where we could do something.
Man,
If not the fullness of it, close to it, just we can acknowledge it in some way.
man, your knowledge is powerful. I mean, the wisdom that you have and working with this. Tell me, what made you get into politics? What made you?
You know I wasn't interested in this stuff, CB.
Gene
Moore, Eugene Moore, Wayne. No, I wasn't Wanda.
No, I'm just saying, all
when we
you,
came
yeah,
in
y'all came in.
as trustees. I got to tell you, I had no desire. In fact, social studies is my least favorite subject because I knew they was teaching me lies. I knew that if you consider Black people less than a man as a fifth, was it 1/5 of a person
Yeah.
or something? I'm like, how they come up with that calculation? So I would fail all my tests, true, false, because I would put false because this can't be the answer because you didn't count me as a whole person, right? So I've been debating and fighting government and politics and social studies since I was a very young little girl. I started getting C. That was my only CCB. That was my only C because I'm just going to challenge the teacher.
Okay.
So anyway, it was my least favorite subject. And I was in college, and I was first in my family to go to college and earn a degree. Didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I just knew I needed to get away from my dad. I needed to go and learn, and so I wanted to be a math teacher.
There you go.
And I let him tell me that, teachers don't make no money, that I need to be in a union. So just to show you the thinking of someone, I got a college degree and he wanted me to go to CTA and drive the train or ride the bus. Like, Dad, no, I need to be administrative side of it and management.
I had a degree. My dad wanted me to go to the military.
Yeah, because that's all our generation knew is you get a good government job and be in a union or you go to the military. Well, you want your children to do that next thing, right? Yeah. You want to elevate each generation to do more and get better. I had no desire I support labor. I always have. I was raised in a labor household, but it just wasn't for me.
Right.
But I didn't know what was for me because my outside of the west side of Maywood, that's pretty much about how far the stretch was. So if I could be something more than that, I didn't see it. I didn't see what I could be. I didn't. And so when I was in college, I just decided how many credit hours I got and what could I graduate in. Okay. So I found my strength from that to be in public communications and human relations. You can talk to people. You kind of get along with everybody. They're like, you want to get behind the camera. You want to be like a weather girl. And I was like, no, because I wasn't comfortable. Yeah, be like a traffic girl, weather girl, in hindsight, I'm like, that could have been a good career. But I chose the public service route. So I went and earned a master's degree in public administration. Okay. And then when I came home, I was just that proviso. He's volunteering some time with the cheerleaders. And Eugene Moore was like, hey, you are girl. What you doing? You the cheerleading coach? And I said, no, I'm just helping out. And he was like, it's a Friday night. And, you in your late 20s and you just volunteering with some cheerleaders and you ain't getting paid. I'm like, no, I just heard of some things happening and I just wanted to come lend my support. So then he saw me doing something else, volunteering. And then he was like, hey, come here. You should run for trustee. And I'm like, for what? He's like, for trustee. And changed my life. I was working at Central Management Services. I had been a Secretary of State employee. I had been at Department of Corrections. Now I'm at Central Management Services. And for me, it was opportunity. And I just felt that, will it hurt or will it help me? And it was something I thought could be helpful. It exposes me to something new. I can make more money. Why not? I'm young. So I went for it. Didn't know a year later they'd come back and say, you should run for the Senate. And I'm like, the what? And I show you how naive. I go, I can't be Kara Mosley Braun. And they're like, not the U.S. Senate, the state Senate.
Well, you just as big as Kara Mosley Braun.
Well, praise the Lord now.
Yes,
25 years later.
That's okay.
But I was like, what do I have to lose? And that's what a lot of what we should do as young African Americans. First impression is everything. And that's what I do when I talk to kids, when I'm mentoring and even talking to young adults about first impression. How you show up is important. I had 2 interviews I just did of some young people, showed up with no resumes, in gym shoes, not dressed properly for the interview, just completely unprepared.
No etiquette, no
None
nothing.
at 19 and 21. And it was kind of scary,
Yeah.
right?
And it's sometimes it's not even their fault. They're not being taught.
No.
At all.
They don't know. They think that they're
That's
coming in the
acceptable.
right way.
Right.
That is
They live off that
That is
social
acceptable.
media age, that social media thing.
Yeah.
You know, they got the brothers that could walk in there and look goofy and get the job done, but that's not reality.
But that's why
It's
we got to
not
get
a
back to the
reality.
basics
Yeah.
and start getting more mentors in these
Mhm.
schools, because a lot of these kids don't know. You don't know what type of household they're coming from.
Mhm.
They've never been taught. So
And what I realized with these, the last 3 years we were in COVID, so they finished high school at home,
That's right.
supposedly studying at the
Supposedly.
computer,
Right.
and didn't learn much. They really missed a lot of curriculum, but they also missed some basics
Yeah.
on how to present themselves. And so I think it's important, CB, that we continue to Z's point, mentor our young people. But we can't go to just the middle school. We can't mentor 8, 9, 10 years old. These 20-year-olds
Yes.
need
Right.
mentoring today,
Them
right?
ones.
Didn't
They
have that
need
in the
mentoring
curriculum
today.
At one point, some type
They
of
had like a career, well, when you would go to the
Something,
career
training or
center,
something.
Yeah.
things of that nature. But yeah, they don't do a lot of that anymore.
And
They're
sometimes
taking
they'll
lot of
have a
things out.
course. Sometimes,
Yeah.
there's a course on interviewing, or there's a
Yeah.
course in communications or what have you.
Right.
So I just think opportunity is important. You need to be prepared for when that opportunity comes by, because it may not ever come again. So that's how I ended up in the Senate. I saw it as a big opportunity. It was greater pay. I love talking to people. Why not?
But see, and then this is a lady that put her money where her mouth is. Kimberly Lightford University.
Yes, the Saturday
Tell
school.
them about that.
I love the Saturday school. You know that, right?
Yes.
I love it. So Philip Jackson, everybody. Philip Jackson was from Chicago Public Schools, and he was a big administrator when I first got elected. And I got this message in Springfield. Swear to God, I'm walking out of committee. I get handed this pile. They're going to close Austin High School. I'm like, you're going to close Austin
My
High
mother went to
School?
Austin.
Your mother went
Yeah,
to
she graduated from
Austin.
Austin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I got this note telling me none of the black kids at Austin was learning, and how
Aw.
poor the percentages were. My response back, well, then what y'all going to do about it?
Yeah.
The answer isn't just closing the school down, right? So they wanted me to come testify in a meeting and bring their talking points. I show up downtown the next day. I'm spanking brand new. I ain't been in the Senate maybe 2 months.
Right.
Spanking brand new. I show up at this meeting, and parents are out there fussing and cussing, and all the Austin community is in an uproar. And I go up and I look at these notes. I'm like, I'm not saying that. So I went up there and I challenged the board about closing Austin High School. Philip Jackson looked at me like this. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. Meeting was over. He came up to me. He said, ma'am, may I walk you to your car? And I said, sure. And when we got on that elevator, he said, who are you? I said, who am I? I'm like, he was just in there. I said, I'm Senator Lightford. I'm brand new. He said, no, who are you? He said, no one has ever come and challenged the board. He said, every single legislator comes and read that script. He said, you're the first person that didn't do that in his 20-something years that he's been over that department. He said, and you know why I know you didn't read it? He said, because my department wrote it. My department wrote it, and he left CPS and founded Black Star Project. And when he founded Black Star Project that year, that took him over. He told me, if you could stand up, I can stand up.
I was going to say, why are people so afraid of speaking up?
I think the loss of income. He was
Oh,
he
yeah,
had
that's
a
a
he had he had a nice job. He had a nice job with the city, right?
Yeah.
Well, he and I became friends, and he focused on young Black boys, third grade black boys. He got some churches. They give him some space. The kids come. He read to them. He came to me and showed me how he had been improving the test scores of these young black boys. I said, I want boys and girls, and I want more than third grade. I want fourth through eighth grade. And so I start funding the Saturday University. In fact, I didn't have an opponent. I took $60,000 of my own campaign money and created a school.
Yes.
And yes.
What year was that?
Oh my God, Phil. The school has to be at least 15 years old by now.
Yes,
maybe a little longer.
Yes. Oh yes,
maybe a little longer.
And then
Because all of those kids, they graduates, they teaching now.
And now you were dedicated a building, and now your university is in that building. Tell them about that.
Yeah, so now it's the Philip Jackson Freedom School. So I created a whole statewide mentor African American learning concept piece for after school summer programs, however that entity sets that thing up, and allocated $17 million to it. So there's 48 freedom schools statewide, Philip Jackson Freedom Schools, and their responsibility is to teach African American studies in their program and to also teach young black boys and girls like proper etiquette, how to present themselves, and definitely to help them academically. Struggles that they're having in the classroom, to help them in that space. And we add a component around trauma. A lot of our kids are, all of these shootings, all of these, incarcerations of their family members, drug addictions. These kids come to school wearing that jacket. Domestic violence homes, they don't have outlets. And so they bring that behavior. They can't sit still. They doing, and then they label our kids BDD, BADHD, all these things when they just have trauma
And
issues that
medicate 'em
haven't
too.
been. They have that bell ring, baby, and they line the kids up and they giving them. I cried like a baby. I was like, oh my God. So the things that I've seen, right, helps me do this. It helps. It fuels my soul to know that I can try to help a kid with what they can't get at home. That's just it. Now every child gonna have an environment where their parents can teach them further. For whatever reason, it could be that they work in two jobs or they on public transportation getting from A to B, and by the time they get home, it's time to go to bed. I'm not in nobody's household to know how it's ran, but what I know is when I see test scores, and what I know is when I see our kids failing, and what I know is when I see we're at the bottom of the poll in enrollment in higher education in the state of Illinois right now. African Americans have the lowest rate of Black men and women enrolled in our state universities, but our flip side, we're at community college levels, but we're not attaining a degree. We start, but we have to take so many prerequisites that we're using our MAP grant money and not getting credit. We're still taking prerequisites to get accepted. And so now you're in your year 2. For you ain't got no credits, but you done spent a year of your MAP. Now you only got one more year towards your MAP, right? So those are some of the challenges that we face. So I waived a whole lot of that with the Black Caucus pillar that I told you guys about. Because if our high schools are not preparing our kids to pass the basic exam for community college, then that's the responsibility. That's where the problem lies. The problem doesn't lie with that child paying a whole year of college with no credits. The high school had a responsibility to prepare that student to make it into the community college exams.
Y'all, do y'all hear what she's saying?
We can talk all night.
This, and like I said, she put her money where her mouth is.
Back to school.
And so now, Kim, you got a project, back to school tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is my 14th year because we were off from the COVID, but we did one year, we did a drive up during COVID. But back to school at Brookfield Zoo is an event that I love putting on every year. It's one of those events where you find some families just haven't gone to the zoo. It's so expensive to pay to get in the zoo. Then you got to pay for parking in the zoo. And then you don't want a snack in the zoo. The snacks cost so much. You be trying to pack up. You make sure you got that cooler you pulling on in there. So the kids already got their snacks because the snacks is too expensive. So I thought to do two things: give kids and their families a day at the zoo, and to also give them school supplies full of backpacks and snacks, and parents have resources and have the vendors out, and that we bring out the state police to do identification kits for the kids so they can have some ID as young kids in case something happens on them. And they're official. They take their thumbprint, they get a photo, and they actually get an identification card as a child. And we've been doing that every single year. And it's been a lot of families literally come back and get in that line and update their kid every single year. So this is the 14th year. It is on Sunday, August 6th. Registration starts at 11. It's the first 500 people. It's free. We made it to 1,000 folks before CD, and I try not to turn anybody away.
Right, exactly,
So come on out to the zoo, bring your kids, have a great family day.
Get a book bag.
I'm going to do one better. I'm going to volunteer.
All right, Z. Amen. Okay,
All right.
good.
I appreciate that. That's
I'm gonna be
good
looking
stuff.
for you, Z. 10
Yeah,
a.m.
I'm in there.
Can I
That's-
get a whoop whoop?
That's not the only. That's not the only program she had. We do cancer, prostate cancer. We do it. She got a grandparents thing, but she do all of that. She got all of this going on. But at the end of the day, Kimberly, you got some personal things going on
I do.
right here in our town, in our Proviso area. Tell us about your new project.
You know what? I truly believe that God gives us many gifts and talents. And sometimes we get stuck in just this one lane, and we don't take the chance to venture out and see what else we can be good in. And I start thinking, CB, like, what else am I good in? I know I love to write poetry. I took a stab.
Y'all rappers, them rappers
Look,
right there.
I know. I did spoken word one time, right? As the senator. They like, is that the senator? I'm like, shh, I got to get this out.
No, you got some slick words.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I did a little spoken word. I love that part, but not good enough to go at it. Right? Just something I like to do. I do interior decorating, and that's with my husband. We flip houses, and I get to design that stuff, and I love that. But what could I do for me and for the community?
Yeah.
So I always felt like if I had a chance to bring a business to the community, what would that be? And how can I become an entrepreneur myself? And how can I give to me? I've been giving of myself for a long time. So how can I give to me something rewarding, right? So the building that I acquired in 2016 had been the Village of Broadview's Animal Hospital when I was a little girl.
Right.
And when they sold that building, they moved around on 17th and bought a smaller building. And if you guys remember Betty Jo's Christian Bookstore.
Yes, it was on that corner.
It was on that corner on half the building. Someone split the building in half and made two storefronts. One side never got rented, and then only Betty Jo's was on the other side. Then Betty Jo started kind of coming across a little bit, getting on that front side. But when they went out of business or chose to close down their operation, that building was an abandoned building for a very long time on that corner. And there was never a for sale sign. You couldn't get no information about the building. And one day, voila, this for sale sign on top of the building. And I'm like, I want that building. I want that building. Right. Because it's in the heart of the community on Roosevelt Road. It's got great traffic. I just didn't know what I would do with it. I thought I would do a sports bar and grill, but then it would be too time consuming because even if you don't have people in your establishment, you got to be open.
Yeah.
Right.
And you got to have X amount of bartenders because you don't know how many people coming in and all these rules and regulations. So I thought that wasn't a good fit. But what ended up being a good fit for me is a banquet hall. What I thought is in our community, there's nowhere for us to go to celebrate our milestones,
Yes.
to celebrate weddings and baby showers and birthdays and graduations and retirements and repasts. You could come to my place from the time y'all could get hooked up. You can meet them.
Yeah.
You can meet them at the Red Door.
Red Door.
You can
the
meet them at
meeting
the Red
place.
Door meeting place,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then y'all could get engaged and have your
Hey,
engagement
book-
party.
Look,
Then we
book
could
your
give you a
events
baby
at the
shower.
Red
There
Door.
You go, baby.
Book
And
your
then,
events at the Red Door.
and then
Very
you can have
beautiful
your
place.
home going at the Red Door.
Yeah.
Baby. So from the beginning of life to the end of life, I wanted to bring the community something where a place that we can call home. That's ours.
Y'all get in contact with Kimberly Lightford, y'all.
Yeah.
She's
Awesome.
running that thing down there.
Thank you.
And listen, this is
Thank you.
once again, Kim. Love you. Thank you for coming.
I love you.
This is
I love
this is
you,
so
CB.
powerful for me in the community. Leave the young people with something that they can go with. They could take it with them and give them some encouraging words. What would your words be to the kids?
My word would be, I want to plant trees that I'll never sit under. Meaning what I
Ooh.
do for you, I never benefit personally, but I would benefit in a spirit seeing you grow and seeing you having a better life. I think it's unfair that if you're born Black, you're born into poverty, or you're born poor, or you're born into a generational curse of poverty that you just can't seem to get out of because you're not being taught quality education. You're not given great opportunities, access. I would give them access, right? I would help them understand that first impressions mean a lot. I would help them understand that you have to be available and ready when the opportunity presents itself, and don't turn that one down. So that's what I want young people to know.
God bless you. And look,
God
she got
bless you.
stronger in the struggle. As she
Amen.
struggled through the process and whatever, and
that
the
journey's
the
something
roads
else.
that were she had to bump into, she got stronger. I love you. Thank
I
you
love
for coming
you too.
out.
Thank you
And
for
to
having
all
me.
my
Thank you,
followers,
ladies.
I don't know how you feel today, but I hope you feel real good. At the end of the day, I just like to say, from the Love Movement Podcast, treat people the way you want to be treated and never give up. God bless you.
Amen.
Just got dressed, need something to get into. Pretty girl.